Alright, so I got the topic of amphibians and their extinction. So most of it is due to climate change. And so I'll be reading a lot of lines that were in the links that I was given. So it says, a major class of vertebrate species is experiencing widespread population declines due to climate change, according to new research. Amphibians, the most threatened class of vertebrates, are deteriorating globally, with about 40% of more than 8,000 amphibian species studied categorized as threatened, a greater percentage than threatened mammals, reptiles, or birds. So that tells you that their extinction is greater or more likely to go extinct. So habitat loss due to agricultural expansion, timber and plant harvesting, and infrastructure development is the most common threat, affecting about 93% of threatened amphibian species. But global warming in recent decades is likely the culprit for the increased declines, the researchers said. Between 2004 and 2022, the effects of climate change were responsible for 39% of amphibian species moving closer to extinction compared to just 1% in the 2 decades prior. So amphibians are particularly sensitive to changes in their environment, partly because they breathe through their skin. Effects of climate change like sea level rise, wildfires, changes in moisture and temperature, and increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather events such as storms, floods, and drought can result in the loss of important breeding sites for amphibians, which can then lead to increased mortality. So amphibians are often forced to adapt or move elsewhere, but the changes are often occurring too quickly for them to adapt. So I just have pictures of the anatomy because I didn't know that amphibians breathe through their skin, so I thought that was really interesting. So it shows here that oxygen goes in and then carbon dioxide goes out. Then its lungs are there, then nostrils and mouth cavity. And then I just thought this was interesting because I didn't know a lot about amphibians before I did this project. But you can see that there's eardrum there, pupil shape there, the vocal sac, pads on fingertips, and they have webbing, a spade, a dorsolateral fold, a parotoid gland that just points. So the most affected species are salamanders and newts. So it says salamanders and newts were found to be the most heavily affected species. The greatest concentrations of threatened species were found in the Caribbean islands, Mesoamerica, the tropical Andes, and in South America, the mountains and forests of western Cameroon and eastern Nigeria, in Africa, Madagascar, and western Ghats in Sri Lanka. At least 37 species have been lost since 1980, the most recent being 2 frog species. I'm not very good at pronouncing, so there's this species and then this one. So some good news: since 1980, the extinction risk for 63 species of amphibians has been reduced due to conservation intervention. So proving that conservation works, Lud said, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Conservation is a study and practice of preventing the loss of Earth's biological diversity and its functions. So you can see that some of the conservation was working to reduce their extinction. This was in the other link. So I read the amphibians and their decline. And now I'm going to talk about the climate change. So it says habitat destruction and disease are both well-documented causes of the decline of amphibians, among the most threatened animals on the planet. Climate change is emerging as one of the biggest threats to frogs, salamanders, and caecilians. The assessment evaluated the extinction risk for more than 8,000 amphibian species from all over the world, including 2,286 species evaluated for the first time. More than 1,000 experts across the globe contributed their data and expertise, which found that 2 out of every 5 amphibians are threatened with extinction. Climate change was a primary threat for 39% of these species. This number is expected to rise as better data and projections on species responses to climate change become available. Disease caused by the citrid fungus, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, which has decimated amphibian species in Latin America, Australia, and the United States. And exploitation also continued to cause amphibian declines. Habitat destruction and degradation, disease, and overexploitation are all threats that are exacerbated by the effects of climate change. 3 out of every 5 salamander species are threatened with extinction, making salamanders the world's most threatened group of amphibians. Alright, so I searched their habitats, and a lot of them are in water or like wetlands. And so you can see that climate change would affect amphibians a great amount because of water levels rising, and also if they're just in like wetlands, then the overheating of the planet can cause their water to decline, and then that's when they have to adapt or move. And like it said in the article, they might not be able to adapt that quickly, and so that's why they are more likely to go extinct. And then here's just a works cited page, and it's just the 2 articles that were on Canvas.